Hi, this is Stefan, and I think I'm gonna change this from Patch Tuesday to Patch Week, since it's Friday, and I'm just getting around to the whole patch thing. So let's get started. First story is South Korea is going to be setting up AI for their border security. Um, Now, this is the significance of this is due to the separation between North and South Korea. That's a very militarized border, and it's important to all countries and citizens, I think, because um, this could actually set a precedent, a global precedent in terms of border security. If the South Korean military can actually use the AI or can work in conjunction with the AI to um, prevent people from crossing the border um, uh, undetected, then what happens is you're going to start seeing other countries um, implementing this in their security plan, in their border security plan. So I think after this breach, where somebody had just crossed the border into South Korea, and for them to go ahead and start using AI monitoring to augment their military operations to keep the security of that border, I think a lot of interested parties are going to be paying close attention to that, particularly governments and um, people who may be wanting to enter a country without either a visa or papers to get themselves um, or to add themselves to the citizenry of that country. So I think it may be important to just kind of keep an eye out for that too. If you're in that realm, for instance, if you're in a business that uh, relies heavily on immigrant labor or something like that, you may also be wanting to pay attention to that to see how that might help or hurt your business depending on how you're running it. So that's the first story. Second story is little hits a little closer to home. A company called Park Mobile is also used here in DC for convenient parking payment, and this, however, has occurred in Portsmouth, and so there's a breach of the app of Park Mobile, which exposed license plate numbers, email addresses, and partial passwords. Um, to be clear, they stated that the encrypted passwords were partially accessed, but a security key will be needed to read them. But I don't think that's going to matter since the passwords that the attackers did receive will just be brute forced, um, and the passwords will be figured out eventually. So the vulnerability was eliminated, but even though there were no credit card information, they state that was exposed. There was no transaction history that was exposed, but um, the stuff like nicknames for cars and license plate numbers were exposed, and of course partial passwords. Um, so I advise you to change your password and monitor your credit card usage, even though they say um, that wasn't part of the breach. I would say monitor your credit card usage because if you see something weird on there, you might want to catch it before they start making bigger purchases on the card. Usually, when somebody steals a card, so I I've learned is to they would go ahead and make small purchases to see if the card still goes through, and then they'll start putting bigger purchases through that card. Um, and if you don't pay attention, you could find yourself in between a rock and a hard place. The other thing is, I would suggest also going in and requesting a new registration for your vehicle because of the breach. Um, I don't know what it's going to take for you to do that. I don't know what your motor vehicles is going to require from you to actually update your registration before it expires. But um, I think it may be uh, worth it to change your license plate numbers, um, because then it, since those were exposed, it can be, you know, used for whatever reason. Maybe the perpetrator would use that to um, do some sort of engineering, um, and try to get more information from the DMV, or try to do something with that license plate. Uh, who knows? It could be a situation where they sell that license plate on the dark web, and people who either stole a car, or haven't registered a car could, you know, write down the thing on a piece of cardboard, or print it out and say, "Oh, I lost my license plate," and it could, any number of things can be used, worked into that that misuse of your license plate number. So I would just say, if you can afford it, because sometimes registration is a lot, but if you can afford it, go ahead and try to see if you can replace your license plate um, number, or change it because of that breach on Park Mobile. Next is comes from the Georgetowner.com. It's advice on how to keep staff from causing a security breach inadvertently, and I think this is a nice starter for companies that want to try to help and protect information. It's gotten to a point where um, a lot of the breaches are um, from human error, or people that are just not trained, or just don't understand what just happened, or um, just weren't paying attention, or didn't know what to pay attention to. And I think also a lot of employers are culpable for not training them or teaching them how to do that. And if you are an organization that has employees, and even for yourself running your organization, you might want to do this in order to try to help um, augment all of your data protection um, strategies to try to keep your customers' data safe. Because this is what's happening. A lot of companies are getting breached, and a lot of people's information is getting exposed. So in this case, they say to help to teach, or to get staff to try to minimize any security breaches or inadvertent security breaches, to create and train your employees on an acceptable use policy. That makes sense. If you don't need to access it, don't access it. If there's information that doesn't pertain to you, or doesn't pertain to what you're doing, no matter how interesting that information is, it's probably best to just leave it alone. Don't touch it. If you don't need to. In the government, there's usually a establishment of what roles need to know what information, and staff is trained to handle that accordingly. Uh, Next, advice how to create good passwords. Now, you may have seen my previous video about whether passwords are even enough. But even so, good passwords, they're harder to figure out, but it takes much longer to figure those out, but they can still be figured out. The only thing is, if your organization has not yet implemented two-factor authentication, then I would suggest making your passwords as long as possible, and maybe even not even doing a password, and doing a passphrase instead. And that way, it kind of makes it easier for the user or the person to remember that password, and it can help add to the complexity of the password, making it harder to guess and figure out. Also, how to teach them how to spot phishing attempts and spoofed websites. So, um, you know, So see, a lot of this is going to um, rely on whether people can actually identify something strange in their emails, or if usually the thing is that usually phishing emails and spoof stuff, that what they do is they try to bring a sense of urgency to the reader. So they'll word things in ways to make you rush, and knowing that when you rush, you make mistakes. So uh, definitely teach people how to spot phishing emails and teach people how to spot spoofed websites. Um, Basically, spoofed websites, it's the domain, and let me put it this way, the website name, because a lot of people don't understand what a domain is. So the address, if you look at the address bar and it shows a website that's similar but not exactly, like, relax. If an email comes in that's urgent and it's about something personal like your bank accounts or IRS, or excuse my language, something like that, then you want to just relax first, calm yourself down, because the email may not actually be the case. Like the IRS, for instance, doesn't contact you through email to tell you that there's something wrong with your IRS account or that you owe them money. You know what I mean? Social Security office, governments don't send you emails about your personal stuff. If you sign up for a mailing list, they'll give you some uh, insights, some informations that they see, public information, but they will never contact you directly about personal information through email unless you had done something like requested a password change for your IRS account, or requested something like that. But as far as email is concerned, they're not just going to come out of the blue talking about you owe the IRS taxes through your email. That's obviously BS. And um, there's a way to check that where the message came from, and uh, if you know how to find that information, teach that to your employees. And if you don't know how to find that information, then let me know. Maybe I'll do a video on that, so that you can to help you figure that out. Anywho, these are the three stories for Patch Week. And remember to update your computer, update your antivirus, and scan your computer. And until next time, we're going to see you next week. Later.